Hi everyone, it's the Venus Project Activism UK, point of contact Aidan Fry, and we have second point of contact or equal another point of contact, Mick Bettinger here. Thanks Mick for coming. We got, so this week is our open Q&A, and we've actually had lots of questions given to us, but no one's here. So we're going to blast through these answers and hopefully answer everything everyone's answered. So I don't even know how many questions we got, maybe 10. We'll try and do them quite succinctly. All right, Mick, I guess you can do the first one, if that's fine. So from Ionet, or Johnny, what would the transition ideally look like to you? Try to name key steps and how they would link to each other. And what does it look like to TVP?
There was the video from the Centennial, which I posted on the Venus Project UK page, and Stan, I forgot his surname, Azin, I think. He goes through it all, and it's brilliant. I don't think he'd be able to summarize it, but he does it in like, I think about 15 minutes, something like that. So check that out, and that's your answer.
That's good. How long is that video? Just so people know.
I think it's about 15 minutes long.
Cool, anyone can do that.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds good. Also, I would just say look at the aims and proposals on the website, because it has step-by-step what officially the Venus Project want to do, exactly laid out how you want it. So just check on the website, and that's good.
Yeah, Stan Hazin's is quite detailed, so...
Yeah. Question 2, how would we come into play? Meaning, what do we actually do tomorrow, within a week, within a month, within a year? And yeah, second part of that question is the same. So what I'm going to take from that is, what can people who are interested in the Venus Project now do, like now? What can we aim for? Well, at the moment, really learn about it, speak to people about it, gain awareness, bring them into the hangouts that we do every Mondays, and that's like now. What we're planning to getting towards is being able to put on events, maybe attend various things, handing out flyers, putting on putting on screenings of the Venus Project, and just having discussion centers. Like, if you're going to get a bit further on, then yeah, maybe we have some sort of communal hub or something that people can come to and learn about the Venus Project. Like, that is what a possibility for me, not necessarily what we will do in like a couple of years. So that's kind of where we're looking at from the Venus Project in the UK, as well as, of course, supporting what the Venus Project's like core, Jacques and Roxanne, what they're actually doing throughout this transition. And again, aims and proposals for there, you can see there's things such as movies or first cities or theme parks being talked about. So for me, that's kind of the future of where we go.
Yeah, and just for people who are joining with us late or whatever, or new to us, it's good to try and get the details of a local library that you can physically get to, and then what we're going to do is try and buy some books in and put them in them libraries, and then people have got them free of charge just to rent, read, take back. Somebody else can rent, read, take back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mick. Question 3, are there better ways of transitioning than others?
Yeah, and it's, I suppose it all depends on the way the future goes as well. It'd be great if things go exactly how the aims and proposals suggest them to. Like I say, Stan Hazin's video, he's got more detailed idea talking about governments as well. So if a government gets involved, at a large government, and like people see a film, a motion picture, then I think it would be nice for things to go smoothly. I think Jacques said many times it won't be easy, but I suppose you never know. You don't want to speculate too much on the future.
And to just go complete the other end, the harder, in the way for me, how do you say best? transition, and that is the amount of human suffering that occurs during that, or human suffering as well as environmental damage and all these kind of things. So, you know, worst case scenario is that there's a real collapse environmentally, it all goes downhill, and in 1,000 years something starts emerging back up out of the new Middle Ages or whatever, Dark Ages that come. Like, it's a possibility. You just got to kind of think of what, and you could think of something worse than that. Okay, next question. How relevant is it that a TVP community be formed? And how do we actually become we? Well, it depends in the end what you mean by community. What the TVP is trying to do is build a network of supporters around the world. And that's what these things are for. And yeah, it might not be what others, or what you might necessarily think of as community if you're talking about building a little village where we can all the TVP supporters in the UK can go and live, and like just be like not talk to anyone else. Whereas kind of now we're this networked group of people around the UK, and we have interactions with a lot more people than you would do if you all kind of set off in a different area. Just one kind of thing, comparison of kind of communities like that to kind of networks that we're trying to build now. So for me, it is important that we build that kind of community and the network of support around the world. Whether we have, you know, a physical village where 50 people live is kind of beside the point. Could be good as a display model, kind of like the Venus projects now, but it depends how it's done, but it's not essential for me. Nick?
Yeah, I'd say not essential, but I mean, it'd be nice if there were a growing number of supporters, and we got to that many that in a certain area where, say, I don't know, say if 10 people lived in South Yorkshire, and we all managed to get some funding together to make a little community, then and do, like, I don't know, viewings from and stuff like that. That'd be great. But like Aidan says, it's more about connecting with people, and online is the easiest way. I mean, if you're trying to get a community where, like, we just find a center point where all the sporadically placed people are now, and then build something there, then you got to think people might miss the families, and people have got to change their work, etc. So for me, the network is online, the community is online.
Cool. Do you believe there are things which would have a greater impact if tackled first? If so, what would those things be? Take that to mean during the transition.
Sorry, can you repeat that, Aidan?
I'll paraphrase it because it's a little bit confusing, I think. For me, what it says is, if transition starts tomorrow, what's the first thing that we do? What's the top of the priority list? Or is it we do everything kind of together in terms of building the infrastructure, or transitioning away from money or anything like that?
I think it's like as it's been described in aims and proposals, so test city, in which case in the test city, yeah, they want to try and get everything all at once in there. Obviously start on the construction first, so that people have homes, the people that are building the test city, so you're going to build their homes, then work out the rest of the test city, and then obviously it'd be the energy to supply the energy needed to produce food, and then work on things like medical care and then education. I'd speculate.
I think maybe even earlier would be the agreement of our common heritage of all of Earth's resources to unify all nations, and that kind of agreement would be very early on the list. But it depends how the transition goes, you know what I mean? If the whole world is on board, then you start a different transition to, okay, we've got a small poor country who's interested in funding something like this. It could be quite different. So yeah, it's very hard to say. I would just point again to the aims and proposals. Down towards the end, there is a long list of about 30 basically main aims of a resource-based economy and how they want to transition to it. And it includes things like stabilizing the environment, worrying about population, feeding people, removing money, removing nations. It goes through everything and it numbers it. I'm not saying that's the order, but they don't tell you the order of priority in that kind of stuff. But probably all of it is required to make an RBE. That's what so much of an RBE is about. It's about everything interlocking together, not just doing a few bits, because if you leave something behind, it tears it all down. It's a metaphor, and needlessly. Okay, thank you, Johnny, for your questions. We'll skip over my questions because I was just being pedantic. They're not actually questions that I actually had. I was just having write them down in case we had no questions. So Jodian asked a question. Are we marching with Anonymous on the 5th of November in London? Or maybe the French Friends who want mass mobilisation on the 15th of this month, called Nuit Début. And like to paraphrase that, I just said, generally, should we take part in demonstrations and events for causes which are primarily something other than TVP or an RBE?
I would say not maybe marching with them, maybe stood at the side with a banner would be great. Anybody who wants to do that, go ahead. Anybody who can make it there, that's fine. Even if you just stood at the side talking about it without a banner, why not? As for marching and protesting, I think there's normally police at the other side here, and I wouldn't advise at all putting a Venus Project name somewhere where there's going to be any kind of
a confrontation.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. You pointed out rightly there, Mick, which is at a protest, the police aren't going to listen to what you're saying, and they're the only people that are really paying any attention. I know there's media and all that stuff. That's fine. It's fine. But actually, in that situation, the people who are pissed off, the people who are actually looking for answers, are the demonstrators. So we can go there, we can talk to the demonstrators, and try to point them towards the Venus Project as a possible solution to the problems that they see, and probably more problems than just the ones that they see. But as a semi-officially kind of TVP organisation here in the UK, we're not going to be officially going to demonstrations to take part in demonstrations. And if you want to go do that, that's kind of fine. That's what you want to do. But the important part is to kind of separate out what you kind of feel to the official TVP message. So you can go there, you can tell people about it, you can take part and do all that stuff. That's fine. But it's often there will be differences that have to be kind of clear from what TVP is saying to Anonymous or any of these other organisations that may be doing demonstrations. But yeah.
So stand at the side, educate people. That's fine.
I'd say give out leaflets. If you don't want to speak to people, just give out leaflets. That'd be great, and we would really appreciate that. And if you do that, take some photos, let us know. We can post it on the page. We can help to build this kind of snowball effect of people out doing things here in the UK. So that would be good. Okay, next question from Dimitri. My question is, are there any talks about building TVP City? If so, at what stage is it? I know the Russian community such option is on scale, and there is a thought to make a TVP TV channel. Okay. Maybe a bit of dodgy translation in there. But okay, so the question, are we building a TVP City? What stage is it at?
As far as I'm aware, no. And I think it'd probably be Jack and Roxanne that authorise that sort of thing, rather than a different country. But
take the question to be asked about TVP officially. I don't think it's asking us here in the UK whether we're going to build a city.
And I lost my train of thought now. So yeah, to find out more about the cities as well, what they want for the cities, and what the more details about the cities. There's a couple of TVP magazines. I forgot which issues, but if you go to TVP magazine, I think there's at least two issues that talk about the cities. Take a look on there, you probably get more details. But yeah, officially, I don't think there's any TVP city being built yet, experimental city.
Yeah, it's been planned. They're working on it, but at the moment, there's nothing solid to report. And Roxanne and Jack are actually very careful about stuff, so they will not tell us anything until it's kind of for certain. That's just to kind of make sure we don't get not anticipation. The
high hopes.
Yeah, that one. And so, like, at the moment, there's not much to report because we don't know anything specific. I think the magazine episode that you were talking about, Mick, was maybe episode 11.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I answered somebody in the inbox about them the other day. So
okay, well, they talk about the city a lot throughout it, so that's good. Okay, thanks, Dimitri. Good question. So Ash had a question in our chat box. So he said the problem for him is in all of TVP, about TVP, is who decides the teams responsible for designing and programming, or engineering such kind of mega structures and projects. Would it be on the basis of best man for the job, or this is my friend, he is good? There are many interpersonal problems I see which we would need to solve before we start any major undertaking of projects. So, okay, who decides the programmer for, the central computer, as an example?
Well, I think it's what they've got is the science tech database, which has got all the people that have volunteered themselves for, if they're still around when an experimental city comes along. And I would say, and I'm guessing here, that it would be the best man for the job. But you never know. The best man for the job could be, this is my friend, he's good at this. Yeah, and yeah, I think they'd vet everybody, make sure they were who they said they were before they allowed them to get involved. So I think there'd be a lot of planning before anything started.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe the other side of the question is, when you're already in a when we're in an RBE and we're planning the expedition to colonize Uranus, who decides in that kind of situation? How do people get involved in the project? Are there technical restraints or like knowledge skills that need to be kind of passed? So sorry, Mick, I'm kind of just quizzing you now, so I'll try and answer this. For me, most of it would be, there would be certain technical requirements of people, and there might be quizzes and things or exams and stuff to kind of get an entry. If it might well be very similar to job interviews today, because there's certain elements at least that you want to require, which today interviews do, which is personal skills and technical ability. Maybe in an RBE where we're more open to kind of technology and open to kind of explaining about ourselves and what we're good at and what we're not good at, then maybe you kind of almost self-vet to jobs like this. And it's got to kind of depend on the project. But yeah, okay, so how do you judge someone's skill? It's very hard. You've got to use a scientific method, basically, and kind of quiz their knowledge on the theories that have been widely held to be true, or something along those lines.
You could also like see if they've done anything in the past, use that. But I'm also thinking, say if we were in RB, I think by the time we get there, the technology would be that good. I'd expect it to be that good that you might even have some sort of robot saying, "Nah, don't do that." That's wrong. You never know.
Yeah, so it's kind of tough. I would say evidence-based, and in the end, your work is open to inspection. And if people go, "Hey, he's doing it wrong. This is would it be how to be better?" They'd either help you to be better, or they say, "Could I do that? Maybe you'd be suited better for something else." Cool. Okay. Thanks, Ash. I think we might as well leave it there. I'll save my questions for next time. We do an open QA.
Cool.
Thanks, Mick, for coming and blasting through these with me.
No worries, man.
It's always good to have a kind of quick go through tons of subjects. It's like an exam. All right, thanks everyone on the recording. See you next week, where we will be doing TVPA magazine, pages 38 to 41. So read up those 4 pages. Shouldn't take more than 5 minutes, and write some questions down, and we'll discuss them next week. Thanks everyone. Bye.